Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. All I can think of is this is the winter of our discontent that simply refuses to end, apparently. It is one of the coldest winters we've ever had. It is one of the snowier winters that we've had in a while. Right now, the depth of snow in the city of St. Paul, and I think in the state, is at its highest level since 1982. And one of the challenges that we've had is that we haven't had a typical thaw cycle in January or February that would have reduced some of that snow. Normally at this time of year we'd have about 7 inches of snow on the ground. Right now we have over 20 inches of snow on the ground. In spite of valiant efforts on the part of our public works crews, and they have been working very, very hard, especially after last week's snow. They have been working almost non-stop since last week to try to remove not only the snow but the ice that formed early on in the storm. That has been very difficult. Conditions continue to be less than ideal, but now we're getting to the point where public safety is being impacted because our fire rigs, in particular, are unable to get through the narrowed streets. A lot of people have asked, well, why don't you just push the snow back a little bit further? At some point, there's no place to put it. At some point, because of the freezing conditions and the compacting of the snow, it's almost impossible to move it back curb to curb, and it is getting very, very challenging. I am confident that we have done everything that we can do to push it back as far as we can. But as I said last fall when we made some changes in terms of how we were attacking our snow emergencies, at some point we can do the best job that we can. But we can't always beat Mother Nature. Mother Nature is getting the best of us right now. And so we need to take emergency action to change parking restrictions in the city of St. Paul. Over the last week, we've done an extensive assessment of the conditions of the street and the ability of fire rigs to get out, not only to get get through a street, but ultimately to set up, to actually fight a fire. So it's not just simply whether or not they can get down a street, it is whether or not they have enough room to set their hoses, to do what they need to do, to really be able to attack a fire if that were to be the case. You're going to hear shortly from Jim Smith, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the operational side of this and why we are taking the steps that we are. But at this point, as of now, we are going to be banning parking on the even side of streets in residential neighborhoods in the city of St. Paul until the snow melts, which I think we are all praying happens very, very soon. This is done with one consideration in mind, and only one consideration, and that is public safety. That is the most important thing that we can be looking at, and that is why we are taking the action here. We are trying to be as consistent with Minneapolis in their policies as they have enacted their one side of the street parking ban. I think that was just last week. This is not something that we would like to do, but it is something that we simply have to do in order to make sure that the public is protected to the highest degree possible. What we're going to do is institute a citywide winter parking ban officially starting this weekend. This weekend we are going to be out trying to notify the public to the biggest or largest extent possible. We will be putting notices on cars that are illegally parked after the ban goes into place. We don't want to tow people. We don't want to ticket people. We know that this is very difficult, particularly people low-income folks in some of our neighborhoods. We would prefer not to tow. We prefer voluntary compliance. We're going to give every opportunity for people to voluntarily comply with this. But rest assured, starting Monday, we're going to be towing people, and we're going to be ticketing people. And they better move their cars and get them off the streets when they're not supposed to be there. So we will people that live in residential streets or park on residential streets should move their cars to the odd side of the street and do so as quickly as possible. As I say, this weekend we'll give them notice, and on Monday we're going to start towing. The extra advantage that we will have is that as conditions start to loosen up or it gets a little bit warmer, one of the things that happens is the snow will fluff up a little bit, or the streets will fluff up a little bit. Having the one-sided parking ban, or one side of the street ban, will also allow us to continually try to get as much snow off the streets as possible and continue to improve the conditions of the street as quickly as we can. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Council President Lantry for a few remarks, and then we're going to hear from Assistant Chief Jim Smith, and then we'll hear from John Matsko with the Public Works Department. Kathy?
Great. Thanks, Mayor. You know, we have, nobody wanted to be here today to be talking about a parking ban because we know it's something that the city hasn't done before, and it's really great that folks are here so we can get the word out. John Matsko has been talking about this possibility for a couple of months now, and I think all of us have been saying, let's hold off. I'm sure this winter will end. I'm sure we will get some in-season melting. It never happened. And for anybody who's done any sort of driving, just in a plain old car, you know how narrow the streets have become. And I think that if it weren't for the message from the fire department about public safety, we would try and handle this a different way. But this is the only way to do it. And so I think getting the word out, giving people at least a little bit of warning before they get ticketed and towed is the best we can do, because if somebody's house isn't able to be reached by the fire department, it will be a tragedy for all of us. Snow is inconvenient. This winter is especially inconvenient, and so I think, you know, as politicians, we really need to take our cues from those in public safety, because that's not the business that we do, it's the business that they do, and when we stop listening to them about it, we're all in trouble. So I know that this is not where we wanted to be, but I appreciate the leadership of the mayor to do this, because it's a big deal.
Thank you. My name is Jim Smith. I'm the Assistant Chief of Operations for the St. Paul Fire Department. I first want to state that the significance of this decision was not taken lightly. The St. Paul Fire Department understands and appreciates the impact this is going to have on thousands of St. Paul citizens. However, in the past week, it has become quite evident that our fire and EMS crews are having unbelievable problems navigating the residential streets of St. Paul. We find ourselves on streets that prohibit us from driving faster than 2 miles an hour down the road. We find ourselves on streets where one stop, we can't even open up the fire doors to get out of the fire vehicles. And worse yet, we find ourselves stopping at the corner and not being able to turn down the street and access the emergency scene. Unfortunately, medical emergencies and structure fires have not taken a break during this challenging winter season. And time is everything to our fire and EMS personnel. This is a public safety issue. Residential fires can double in size every 30 seconds. A citizen having a respiratory or cardiac emergency battles an unseen clock. But we all know that every minute away from emergency medical care our paramedics and EMTs can offer, that puts the patient's life in greater peril. Every member of our fire department took an oath to protect the lives and property of the citizens of St. Paul. We are passionately devoted and work by that ideology. But this winter has become one for the record books. It's making our task more and more challenging. So in order for the St. Paul Fire Department to efficiently and effectively, professionally fulfill our mission, this winter parking ban had to be implemented. I must assure you, this is for the good of the whole city. I want to thank the city leaders for making this very hard decision and implementing this winter ban. Thank you.
Good morning. No one appreciates the wrath of Mother Nature more than Public Works. This has been an extremely brutal winter for us. Maybe not so much in the amount of snowfall at any given time, but it's almost been a death by 1,000 cuts. With 3 inches of snow here, 3 inches of snow there, and frankly, I think the snowflake that fell December 5th is still on the ground. With this being the 8th coldest winter on record, we've just got unprecedented amount of snow that we've been trying to move. Frankly, there's no place to put it anymore. You see the height of the snow on the boulevards. The plows cannot push it on top of the boulevards, so basically it falls back into the street, and the streets keep getting narrower and narrower. It is not something that Public Works took lately either. We've worked very hard to try and manage and move this snow as far as we could, but You see the deep freeze that we're in now, which is also unprecedented for the end of February. And we're coming into one of the snowiest months of the year, being March. Frankly, taking the chance and risking public safety is something that we couldn't do. So again, as the chief and the mayor and Council President Lantry mentioned, it is not something we wanted to do, but it's something we need to do because life safety comes first.
Questions at this time?
How many fewer parking spaces will there be in the city than, the normal number?
I estimate that to be a bunch.
Like Minneapolis is about a third with Airedale. Is that about what it would be here?
Well, we have, out of a total of 900 miles of streets in the city of St. Paul, 600 of them are residential streets. So, so if you take a half of 2/3, somebody do the math on that one, and I don't know how to do that.
About the same as math.
Thank you, math majors. I don't. Plus the tow, plus any storage fees that they. So you're going to be out of pocket several $100s if you don't comply with this order.
What about streets that don't have numbers on them? Like in my neighborhood, the north-south streets, that's where my house is, those have numbers, but the east-west ones don't. How do I know which side to go on?
In the city of St. Paul, the even side of the street is the east side of the street and the south side of the street. Thank you very much. We have an interactive map. There we go. Oh, that's right here. So if you go, we actually are asking people if they have any questions about whether they can park on one side of the street. They can go to stpaul.gov/snow, and they can access an interactive map that will tell them, they can type in their address, and it will tell them whether or not they can park on this side of the street or that side of the street. And if they have any questions, they can always call the City of St. Paul at 266-9700, and they will answer any questions that we have. We really are, the reason why we are taking the approach that we're taking this weekend is to get out there and get as much compliance as we can voluntarily, as quickly as we can. We are trying to do this in the most resident-friendly manner we can possibly do it. But this is, as we stated, and as Chief Smith said, this is a public safety issue, and we need to have compliance. Yeah.
I do want to make one thing clear. I know that this is going to be a hardship for a lot of people, and we are really going to be packing the sides of the street that we're allowing parking on. Please be aware, and we'll make sure that the citizens are aware of this. This does not allow anybody to park in front of fire hydrants. And I know that that may be the case. They'll just see that open spot and dive into that parking spot. We need to make sure that the citizens are aware of the hydrants. And as we've been saying all along, it's on our website, it would be greatly appreciated if the citizens would help us out by shoveling out their hydrant as well. It would make it a lot more visible.
And the dogs appreciate that as well.
How's the snow budget this year?
It's tough. As you know, we are on a calendar budget year. We budget for 4 snow emergencies during the course of that year. We already have had declared 8, in addition to a lot of extra work that we've done to continue to go back in and cut the ice and push back snow whenever we could. So we'll get through, if this winter does ever end, we'll get through and assess during the course of the summer and prepare for the second half of the fiscal year in our budget, which will begin, let's hopefully next December, not next September.
So you're saying we've already blown through, basically?
We've blown through it and then some. So in each snow emergency costs about $500,000, a little bit more than that. And so we've already doubled our budgeted total. So when we budget those things, we look at 5-year averages. We kind of estimated that's the best. Some years we've had fewer, some years we had more. This one has been stated is for the record books.
Actually, one, not to correct the mayor, but
Please correct.
The calendar year, right now we've had 5 for this season. So we're actually only one over for the season. If we're good in the fall, you know, we've got a smaller issue to deal with, but we have had 8 so far for the season as a whole.
Thank you. Great, thanks everyone.